the stage, if we could, first of all, I'd like to get some definitions of what software tools we have available. Ken, tell us a little bit more about Seki, what you do, and what ERMs mean.
Yeah, great question, Tara. So the term ERM is not widely used. It's not widely known, which is why I'm really glad that Kyle's here, because we can talk a lot about CRM, which people are very familiar with. But when it comes to employee relationship management, and specifically our platform called Seki, what we do is we measure discrete interactions between leaders and frontline employees. And specifically for us, our niche is those markets that are more blue collar, frontline employee heavy industry, where it's somebody that's deskless. It's somebody who's building, picking, packing, shipping, not in front of a computer like I am in most cases, like I would assume the three of us all are most days. It's somebody that is out and about, and those connections from leaders to employees are not easily measured with traditional HRIS, traditional HR technology. So that's where Seki fits in, as we layer on top of those existing systems. So employee relationship management for us is that measurement of, are those interactions, good, bad, or otherwise, between a leader and a frontline employee happening. And that's really it's the foundation of what we do, is making sure that that is happening.
Very nice. Thank you. And Kyle, tell us a little bit about CRM.
Yeah, well, as Ken said, it's a more familiar category, certainly. So I imagine a lot of people understand, at least at a basic level. But CRM stands for Customer Relationship Management. The most basic level, when it was invented, 30 years ago, the idea was, don't have your sales team carrying around a Rolodex or an appointment book, right? All of your contact information, all of your customer information, all of your sales information should be in a system of record that is accessible by the whole team and by leadership. So by extension, it's not just the people in the companies you're contacting and their phone numbers and email addresses and things, but the actual conversations and how things are progressing and projections of sales numbers and things. In the last few decades, it's expanded from just sales to including marketing data and customer service relationship. And at HubSpot, we're really trying to solve for growth-minded small and mid-sized businesses who want their sales and marketing and customer service, all their customer-facing efforts unified in a single system of record, so that can be scaled up and grown over time.
Yes, thank you. I love that you said growth-minded. That is so important to me too. Thank you for sharing that. Very nice. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about integration. And one of the questions I have related to that is, some people don't really understand if this is for mass communication or if this is for one-to-one communication. So let's talk about integration and how we're communicating.
Kyle, I'll let you kick it off.
Sure, yeah. So, again, the heart of CRM, its history is very much sales focused. And so that's all one-to-one communication, right? I pick up the phone and I call you, Tara, to try to sell you something, or you email me and I respond, or whatever the case may be. But HubSpot itself started as a marketing automation software. We moved into CRM after we'd been around for a few years. And so that mass communication, whether that's emails or whether that's social media posting or whether that's running your website, that has been foundational in HubSpot for a long time. And so I think I used the word unified. We really want to unify the effort between marketing, sales, and customer service. So you're not double and triple hitting people, right? Your marketing team isn't sending out a mass email to the same people that your salespeople are emailing to try to schedule an appointment to the same people that your support team is responding to support tickets from. You want to orchestrate and coordinate these efforts so that every person you're interacting with, whether they're a prospect or a customer, feels like they are the only one, right? They are the one you are reaching out to do business with, to take care of. And so that's what we're striving for there. But there's a balance between the two. Certainly there's a space for mass communication. I better personalize it, better do a lot of things to make it feel more personal, but you can send a group of emails at once and give people a remarkable experience. But then at the same time, you want to make sure that those one-to-one conversations, whether that's a Zoom call or Google Meet or Teams or whatever it is, or a phone call or an email, are not overwhelming people who are already receiving that mass communication.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and I would I'm going to echo everything that Kyle shares or has shared, because there are so many parallels between what we do on the employee relationship management side and CRM in managing that communication on the one-to-one basis, like I mentioned in what our software does, but also in a mass way. And I'm gonna butcher this stat, but it's something like 60% of internal company communication via email goes unread. And I believe that. It's probably higher than that. So how does communication happen from the top of an organization to somebody that's on the front lines? It's through a leader. It's through face-to-face conversations. It's in group meetings. And what we're doing is we're measuring that, and we're making sure that that communication happens both on the one-to-one basis, but also on a mass communication basis as well. So especially with the blue collar frontline workforce that we focus on and that we tailor to, again, somebody will not be sitting at their desk. They likely don't have a desk. They likely don't have a computer. And in a lot of cases, they don't even have a company issued email address. So what our challenge is to meet those people, to meet those employees where they are. So a feature that we're just rolling out now, because it was something that all of our customers are asking for, is mass communication via text message. So that employee, I'm sitting here at American Family Field in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, today, and there very well could be, even though it's March, there could be a snow day coming up in a couple of days, right? That can happen. And the traditional way of letting all employees know that the shift isn't starting until 10 a.m. or there's a delay because of weather, or there's a delay because of something else. The traditional way of doing that is a phone tree. Each manager picks up their phone and they call one or multiple people on their team and make sure everybody's communicated with that the shift is delayed. This is just one specific example. But now with something like mass text messaging that meets everybody where they are on their phone, where we all are today, that message can get out with the push of one button. So that mass communication, that mass reaching of the frontline employees has been a big boost for a lot of our customers, and solving a need that we didn't even know that was out there, where there was this antiquated phone tree that likely people were getting missed, or people weren't getting the message in time. And now with the click of a button, we can get that message out. So I'm kind of bouncing around in my message here, but we're focusing both on the ERM perspective from the mass communication to all employees, but then all the way down to that individual level. And what's most important is being able to measure that any or all of it is happening.
And what I think is interesting too about both sides here is that we can still have personalization despite the fact that it's mass communication oftentimes. Like, it's a really nice balance, which I'm sure, Kyle, you believe is going to be even more important in 2025 and in going forward, is that personalization in our communication.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me listening to Ken talk. I'll tell you, Ken, I hadn't heard of the ERM category before this. We started, scheduling how to have this podcast. But just listening to Jack, I'm getting really excited, because I think it makes so much sense that these principles that have been used and refined for a couple decades now on the marketing side of things and on the sales side of things apply equally well to your employees. And honestly, if anyone deserves a level of respect and personalization, you know, if you're getting to know a new prospect or customer, there are things you don't know about them. You have an employee, you know what their schedule is, you know what their job is, you know what information they need to do that job. And if you're not sending tailored messages to them, it makes it difficult for them to do that job. And so it seems almost a little crazy to me that this way of thinking about personalization was pioneered in all the external communication, and is just now barely getting figured out for internal communication, where there's so much more information to base it. I don't know. Like I think that's great. That
So
you're doing that.
I want to, let's parlay that thought, because you're right. ERM is not a widely known or used term, but just like you said, it's all the same. It's the same principles. It's communication. It's the measurement of the communication. It's making sure that it's tailored and all that. But something that we get to think about a lot at Seki is how much money and effort goes into making sure each customer or prospect that you're working with is getting communicated with in the right way, that I'm following up with the prospect in the right cadence and sequence of communication. Why is it that we're not focused on that on the employee side? So Kyle, like you just said, we have all of this information on our employees, but why is it not more of a focus? Why are we spending so much, such a difference in how much we're spending on prospects and customers versus our own employees? And that's a problem that we're trying to attack. Is we see huge opportunity for organizations to better understand who their employees are, what their employees are feeling, what their leaders are doing, good, bad, or otherwise, for their employees. And I can see your wheels turning, Kyle. It's all the same thing that you're talking about from a CRM perspective. It's the same problems. It's the same ways to solve for those problems. It's just customers or prospects versus employees.
Yeah, well, and I love your question of why do we focus so many more resources on our prospects than on our employees? And I think the easy and completely wrong-headed answer to that question is, well, prospects are a revenue source and employees are a cost center. But if your employees don't know what they're doing, now you don't make money, right? If the sales team doesn't know how to sell, if the customer success team doesn't know how to do, or in these blue collar industries, right? Your folks who are focused on production and delivery and installation and whatever the case may be, if they don't know where to be or where to go or what lever to pull, your company doesn't make any money, right? Like, you don't have a company without those people. And so it is at least as important to have communication working there.
For sure.
You know, and what I think is really interesting about this too is, so I have been in my field for 17 years, and in just the last couple of years have I been getting all of the requests for recruitment marketing and employer branding because of the competitiveness of the job market that we're in.
Oh, so, sure, yeah.
You know, to Kyle's point, that could be a big part of it too. That, you know, I don't want to say we were taking them for granted, but now we're living in a world where it's really the employee and the potential employee who holds a different place of power and choice in where they're going for their employment today. So that could be a big part of why we're seeing more emphasis on the ERM side of things now, because of the competitiveness in the job market.
Yeah, and I mean, maybe this is taking us off into the weeds in deep left field. I don't know, but I just want, like, Ken, I also love the thing that really gets my heart like glowing is I love that you're focusing on blue collar markets, because there's so much talk today about like AI and people are going to lose their jobs. Like, yeah, maybe knowledge workers like me, that I make a living making videos about product releases, right? Yeah, I'm in danger. 2 years from now, AI could totally do my job. The folks who are like flipping switches in a power facility, or you know, building buildings, or digging ditches or mining, those are, AI can't do any of those things, right? AI doesn't have fingers. AI doesn't have bodies. And like, if we are not able human to communicate with these folks, like this is a great long-term area to invest in, because we really rely on the people who do those jobs.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Very nice. Nice perspective there. Okay. So question I want to ask you next is about the business impact of your programs, of your software. Let's talk about those specific areas: marketing, sales, reputation, culture, all of those things, the business impact of what you offer.
Yeah. So I'll kick it off, but I think Kyle, I'm interested to hear your parallels or your analogs to what I'm saying on the employee relationship management side, because they're there. So the business impacts for us would be, first and foremost, is employee retention. So increasing engagement of employees, because we know there's a lot of data to back this up. There's a lot of research to back this up. We know that employees, they don't leave an organization if they're quitting a job, or if they're disengaged with their job. They're disengaged with their leader. So we try to attack that directly by making sure that we're proactively measuring leader to frontline employee engagement. So first and foremost for us is always employee engagement. A downstream effect of employee engagement, of boosting employee engagement and retention, is higher productivity. When somebody is more engaged with their work and the work that they're doing, and the person that they're working with and for, they are going to be more productive. And then ancillary benefits to all of that, and I'll just leave it at this, is people are more efficient. Organizations are more efficient as you can better measure the leader to employee communication, the leader to employee engagement, the productivity goes up, efficiencies go up as well. So we make impact on the business in a lot of different ways, but those are really core outcomes that we see right off the bat. And just I guess I'd be remiss if I didn't mention, we see some really interesting data with all of the customers that we work with. As soon as our software is implemented, and as soon as you can get to a point where you're measuring recognition in an organization, and I'm going to get very specific and in the weeds on this one. As soon as you can measure recognition in an organization, leaders don't want to be the leader that's not giving recognition. Employees don't want to be the employee that's not receiving recognition. So it starts to create this internal competition that gets a flywheel of sorts spinning. But then also what we see when recognition happens in an organization, when there's more good that's being shared, there's less bad that happens. So when there's more recognition, people show up to work on time. They show up to work, period. So absenteeism goes down, corrective action goes down. And the easy way to sum it up is the more good that you can promote, the more good that you can share, the less bad that you're going to have. So it's this very simple thing that we see across all of our customers, and it's very apparent in the data. The more recognition you can give, the better your organization is going to be.
I think that's wonderful. I love everything you're saying, Ken. I love how you're getting, like, the value of your product is tied so much to intuitive human behavior, right? Like, none of that, what you just said, is like, wait, really? People like recognition, right?
Yeah.
Of course they do. But to build a product to actually enable that is so cool. On the CRM side, again, CRM, it's an incredibly crowded space. HubSpot is far from the only player here. And I assume most business leaders of any stripe have heard some sort of sales pitch about the value of CRM you got to have a system of record, and you got to be able to report, et cetera, et cetera. But I think that the reality that a lot of folks in the CRM category don't talk about is the tool is only valuable if your team uses it, right? And a lot of CRM implementations fail. You spend however much money and however many months getting it set up, and then your sales team just simply doesn't use it, right? And so all of that business value is just purely hypothetical. And HubSpot, we're trying to differentiate ourselves in a couple of ways. We're trying to make a really nice user interface that feels much more like using Gmail or Facebook than it does feeling like, using an enterprise piece of software. And we try to make it fast and effective. But I think something that's just so important is how we enable the teams to be unified together. We haven't, like I mentioned, we started as a marketing tool and we expanded into CRM. The classic playbook for doing this is through acquisition, right? You buy this product, you buy that product, you buy this product, you paint them all the same color and you give them a single login, but the data isn't flowing very well. It's all sort of disjointed. HubSpot, everything we built from the ground up. We have one massive product team and we invest heavily in R&D and we build everything from scratch. And so, a contact is a contact is a contact. Doesn't matter if the marketer is looking at it or the salesperson or the service team, they're all seeing the same record. They're all seeing the same information. It's all updated in the same moment. And that matters a lot. But I mean, listening to Ken, I have to say too, like so much is on the leaders and what they're willing to do, right? Just funny story by way of metaphor. I really like kitchen appliances. This is a weird thing about me. And my wife once got me a crepe maker. It was interesting. It heats up on this non-stick surface, and you actually dip it into the batter and pull it out, and then you get a nice thin crepe. And I read the owner's manual, and there were two very clear, distinct sections to the owner's manual. The first part was definitely written by a marketer. And it's like, man, this thing, you don't have to spray it. It's non-stick. It's so easy. It's so fast. And then the second half was definitely written by like the corporate chef, because this was all the recipes. And the recipes in big, bold letters say, always spray in between. You'll get a sticky, nasty mess if you don't. And clearly these two employees either had talked and had a fight, or they hadn't talked at all, right? And this is funny to me, to see it in print, but it's also really familiar to me, right? If I call into a company, I have a customer service issue and I'm trying to get help, and I call them up and they're like, well, what's your name? What's your account number? Like, I've talked to you before from this phone, you should know who I am. Or if I have to call in today and have to call in again tomorrow and I talk to a new person, seems like you can't see the conversation history. Seems like we're starting this from scratch. Why did I even bother calling again? And HubSpot just really wants to erase all of that, to make your company just your company. And it doesn't matter which of your customers calls in, and it doesn't matter which of your employees they talk to. Your employees are going to know immediately who this person is, what their history is, and how to help them. And that's a very important problem, I think, to solve. And there's a lot of business value in there in terms of happy customers and new customers you're able to close. Yeah.
Thank you. Very nice. Thank you. Oh, this is so much fun. I really enjoyed our time. What I would like us to end with is, what can someone do if they want to learn more? If they want to connect with you, or they want to learn more about your software, what is a good place for them to start?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. So we are at secchi.io. So that's secchi.io. You can find us at our website, on LinkedIn, on all the socials, but reach out, let us know what questions you have. Let us know right now what your opportunities are on the people side for employee relationship management. Or I feel like you could reach out to Kyle, because you sound pretty excited about what we're doing, Kyle. So reach out to either of us, and we'll get you connected.
Yeah. I will not be able to answer very many questions about Secchi. Everything I know, I have learned over the course of this podcast, but it sounds cool. I'm Kyle Jepson. I love LinkedIn. I'm all over LinkedIn. I have a page there called HubSpot Tips and Tricks, where I share daily short videos about how to use HubSpot. The part of HubSpot I work for is called HubSpot Academy. If you go to academy.hubspot.com, it's a whole bunch of free videos. Learn how to use HubSpot, learn what it is, what it does. And HubSpot itself, there's a free version of the tools, unlimited free use on the most basic tools in HubSpot. So just sign up and give it a try and see what you think. If you run into trouble, let me know. I'm happy to help.
Thanks, Kyle. Appreciate that. I love your videos. You do such a nice job. It's fantastic. HubSpot puts a lot of good training tools out there for sure. Well, thank you. Thank you both for being here today.